everyone, it's Desiree, and I am here once again to showcase the Scrapping for Less Flavor of the Month card kit for January 2019, and the theme for January is Perk Up and Start the New Year. So, yay, coffee, love it. So this is the packaging that your kit will come in. Now remember, they have two levels. They have a double dip, and they have the banana split. So I'm going to show you everything that's in the double dip first, as always, and then I'm going to show you what comes in the banana split. You also get your sketch sheet and your ingredient sheet, and they're available as downloads, and I will have that link down below in the description. Our card stock is one sheet of each whipped cream, snow cone, cotton candy, jelly bean green, lemon drop, craft, and you get 2 sheets of Nina 110-pound classic crest smooth solar white. That's a lot. Meaning that's a long name. Okay, now remember, all of the cardstock that I just showed is from My Favorite Things as well. So for collection 1, we are looking at Coffee Time paper by Scrapping for Less. It is double-sided, and I do love some of the prints. I especially love the color, the brown and the teal. It's one of my favorite color combinations. The stamp set is Humming Along by Scrapping for Less, so it's got a great coffee mug and a little hummingbird. There's also some ephemera by Scrapping for Less, and your sequin mix is also created by them as well, with a piece of sheer ribbon. So that's collection 1. Now remember, in each of the collections you also get an envelope. So for collection 2, Love Coffee and Donuts paper, again by Scrapping for Less. It is double-sided. I really enjoy the colors that came through this as well. So you've got like that green blue, you've got a great pink, you got a yellow, a brown. You're going to get some donut character stickers by Sticko. You get some wood icons by Prima Marketing. The sequin mix again is by Scrapping for Less. And the stamp set is Newton's Donut Stamp by Newton Nook Design, which is adorable. That's collection 2. For collection 3, there's your envelope. The paper again, Coffee and Friends, is by Scrapping for Less. Again, double-sided. Very bright. That's my favorite. Just in case you had to, show that finger wiggle there. But very bright colors, but they do all coordinate very well. You get some Coffee Time stickers by Sticko. They are puffy. The stamp set is Coffee Break Marcy by La La Land. And you actually are going to get real coffee beans, which is pretty cool in a little pack there. And then, of course, your sequin mix is again by Scrapping for Less. So collection number 4. The coffee paper is by Echo Park. Once again, double-sided. So you have many elements available in that pattern paper as well. Your sequin mix is by Scrapping for Less. You get a set of enamel dots by Echo Park. And you also get some cut-aparts by Echo Park, different sizes. And they are two-sided as well if you're looking for a bigger design. The stamp set is Brew It Anya by The Greening Farm. So everything that I've just shown you now comes in the double dip sundae. If you are interested in the banana split, you will have these items added as well. So the first thing is this wood embellishment. It's a coffee mug. It looks big. You're looking at it like, what is that? Wait till you see. There's a lot of things you can do with that. You also get a cat's eye ink pad in chestnut. It's by Colorbox, and it is a chalk. Okay, so that would be your color there. Know that when it comes to that wood embellishment, it would be this. It's the same thickness if you would make a shaker card. You get a Donut Worry embossing folder by Desiree, which I thought was really cute. Very quick and easy way to make some cards. Your stamp set is Melting Snowman by Your Next Stamp, and it's exclusively made for Scrapping for Less. So those are the items in the banana split. Yes, I'm snapping there. Sorry, I was hollering at my cat. Now, again, so everything here is if you get into the banana split level. Note, just a side note before we get started, items can change as deemed necessary. So everything I have, you may not have. Some things may alter just a little bit. So let's start with collection 1. And I used sketch, I don't know what sketch I used. Sketch 1. There we go. Oh, and I'm showing it there. So again, to save time, I did some of the die cutting and all the coloring offline. So, started cutting my pieces. I also pre-cut those, again, to save time. So, my back panel actually was cut to about 5 3/8 by 3 1/2. My next panel here is actually trimmed to be 3 1/2 by just about 4 1/8, and I'm going to cross that. The smaller panel with the polka dots, that is actually cut 2 inches by 3 inches. And again, these are estimates. You can, that's the beauty of a sketch. You can decide what you want your pieces to be. A sketch can give you that inspiration. And you can alter it, you know, make it your own. I'm going to prop up that smaller panel with some double-sided foam tape. I used a stitched circle die to cut out the image that I used, which was the coffee mug. And I used colors that were close to the paper. So for the mug, I used warm grays. I believe it's 1, 3, and 5 that I used. It's a Copic marker, and then I used the blue shades. Now those were my colored pencils that I used for that. So I used Copics to color the mug, and I used my colored pencils to color in where it's blue. I'm using one of the die cuts as my sentiment, but first I forgot to put the ribbon where I wanted the ribbon to go. Not a problem. I'm just going to put a line of glue down where that ribbon is sitting right there, and I'm going to push the ribbon down onto that, and we'll just trim the edges. Not a problem. It's okay. So what I did, I'm going to cut it at the blue panel, and then I'm going to take it all the way off to the Desert Storm piece that I'm using there, just for a little bit of difference. I am going to trim up this die cut just to remove the white edge. 2 reasons. One, I really didn't want that white edge. I really wanted to see the teal only. But also by doing that, it just makes it a little smaller for the area so that I'm not covering up my mug so much. I'm going to put some foam squares on the one side and then use my liquid adhesive for the other, so that it can lean up against the mug panel and then come off of that and still be even when going through the mail. Once that's set in place, I'm going to grab the sequin pack, and there was the sequins that I wanted specifically, the brown ones, the spiral looking ones. So I pulled some of those out, placed some adhesive in certain areas, and then I'm going to use my wax pencil and pick those up and set them in place. Just to give it a little bit more accent. It adds another color also, but highlights the browns that are already on the paper. And that is our first card. So for collection 2, I used sketch 2. Now this one, again, you can just, you know, cut your pieces to be whatever size that you want. Now what I am going to do, I do tend to use a panel and then put it to my card base. I usually call those design bases, so if you hear that phrase used. So that's what I have here, and this panel's been cut 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and I've cut my strips from the pattern paper, and I'm going to adhere them to this panel, because if they're all not cut the same length, if they're cut differently, I'll be able to round up those edges after all of my pieces have been set. I'm going to be using my liquid adhesive to adhere these papers, and then for my plaid panel, I'm actually going to use some foam tape. That's just to, again, give it some dimension, give it some depth. Once that's set, I'll grab my shears and I'll just cut down the side, again, to trim it up. Now that, of course, is my little bit of OCD. I do like, when it comes to my panels, I do like those edges to be straight, or to be even. Let's say that. Not so much straight, but just be even. I know people are saying, well, that's kind of the same thing. Nah, not really. So once I have that, then I can put it on the card base any way that I want. Know that all of my card bases are standard A2 size, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and they are top folding or could be side folding, depending upon how we're setting up the card. I used my vintage photo just to go around my image, and for my image I used my colored pencils. And the sets that I used today were my Prismacolors and the Dick Blick colored pencil sets. I'm going to use some foam squares towards the bottom of my little character there, and I'm going to use my liquid adhesive for the top. Again, just because it's coming off that panel that I've already propped up. So just doing a little bit of thinking, I finally chose what sentiment I was going to use, and I chose "Don't know what I do without Mew." Cute. Yes. And yes, I did color my little tiny kitty like Newton. I think Newton's adorable. So I'm just going to trim up this sentiment. I'm going to make it a banner on one side. I'm going to use do the fishtails, and then I will come in with my vintage photo to go around that panel, just to let it stand out a little bit more. There's a lot going on this panel with the papers, with the pattern paper, so I just want to make sure that stands out. Even though it's in white, it could actually get lost in there, at least for me. So that's why I'll usually come in with that ink just around the edges. I did use the ink that comes in the banana split level. They do stamp very well. They will stamp solid. Just know that they will stain your stamp, more so than any other inks. So it's okay. We clean our stamps for a reason. And it works just fine. So for collection, that was collection number 2. So collection number 3. Now we all knew I was going to pull out that one pattern paper with the mug rings, coffee rings. So for this one, I am using sketch number 4. So I used one of my circle dies for my stash, just to cut a perfect circle out. Wasn't going to attempt to cut that. Now, I'm going to eyeball this. I'm going to put some liquid glue down, halfway down the circle. And what I'm going to do is, I know that this is an approximate 4-inch circle. So I did use my grid mat to say, okay, 2 inches up is here, but I'm eyeballing it. And now I'm going to cut the side off of it once it's adhered onto my panel. This panel is cut 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. Then I'm going to take the other side of that circle and then just put it above it right up to the edge. So are they perfect? I doubt it. Did I put them on perfectly straight? I doubt it. But that's okay. I can trim. Again, I have this design base that I'm working on. I can do any trims if my pieces are not cut, and I can just smooth out those edges. Again, the reason why I do 9 out of 10, I work on a design base, unless I just have a focal point, an image that I've cut out, or a sentiment that I'm using, then I could directly go down onto that design base, depending upon what my background is. Again, the vintage photo comes out, and I'm going to go around the entire base, and then also my panel here. And that panel, I just decided to cut that to be 1 3/4 by 3 inches. I'm going to use my double-sided foam tape, and I'm going to put that right across that center there, still allowing for the circles to show, and then the piece of the strip. I wanted to use the puffy stickers, so I'm going to use the large circle just for a sentiment. And again, it's not really a sentiment, but it is words. If we're looking for that on the front, I can write something on the inside of my card. So I'm going to use the cups along the bottom. I used the coffee beans as well. But I had to use the real coffee beans. Why not? We use enamel dots. We use other embellishments. So why not use the coffee beans? So I started out using my Nuvo adhesive. It was working. Here's my suggestion on a couple things using the coffee beans. One, use matte medium, multi-matte medium, or use a collage, or use a strong liquid adhesive. Also, what you could do is, if you have like a cheap nail file, file the side that's going to be glued down of your bean, of the coffee bean, because it's slippery. By filing that, you're going to make it rough. You're going to like open it up so that it can absorb into the glue so that it can adhere. That is what I did, and I lost that footage. Sorry, guys. But that's what I did to make the coffee bean stick. Multi-medium or collage. I think the Nuvo adhesive would have worked as well. I didn't want to take any chances. But that's how I got the coffee beans to stick. And I'm sitting here picking at them and they're not going anywhere. So, yeah. Little tidbit. So for collection number 4, again, the coloring was done off camera. And I did use, once again, my colored pencils. For this one, I used the Dick Blick's colored pencils. I really do like them. I think they're decent. But I'm biased. I'm going to say that. I love all colored pencils. You can never go wrong if you buy a colored pencil set. Doesn't matter which one. From Crayola all the way up. Anyway. So I cut my panel to 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. I have my second panel coming in here. And that one is cut to 2.5 by, yes, I'm measuring it now, by 5. And I'm going to set that down towards the left-hand side. My strip here, I wanted to use the floral just to give it some color. That is actually 1 3/4 inch wide, and I fishtailed the end. Now, I kept changing that length. So, again, you can make that any length that you're looking for. So, I believe I actually made that like 4 inches. Or 4.5. I'm sitting here playing with that circle, which I used a circle die from my stash just to come in from the back. I did trim around her a little bit more, and I did use my Copic to ground her. It's very quick. So I decided to put the circle down towards the right. I'm going to prop her up using some double-sided foam tape. And then I'm going to use one of those Prima wood pieces that come in this kit. I forgot to put my vintage photo around her, so I can real quick just going to come in, just give a hint of it. And I'm going to use the one that says coffee time. Why not? I'm going to set that down coming off the coffee cup. Now, you could put a little smiley face on the coffee cup if you wanted to. Why not? And then I'm going to grab some of the enamel dots and set those around as well. And that is our 4th collection. So for the banana split. So what I did was, and I apologize, I totally lost this footage. I used some burgundy acrylic paint. I get the acrylic paint that you use from the local craft store. And that piece right there is a huge file. It's sandpaper on a board. Now, you can do that any way you want. Get a fine grit. I used it when I quilted. So what I did was I painted. I was testing all kinds of things on that wooden piece. I painted it just to cover it all up. And then I literally drug it across that file or that sandpaper to get that look. All right. So, again, I do apologize. I don't have that. I did use the stamp. And I used my Prismacolors to color my little melting snowman, which is absolutely adorable. And I'm going to fussy cut him out, but only the top. I only need the top portion to be fussy cut. All right. Now you can see I'm going to put him towards the bottom of that. So again, by keep scratching that against that sandpaper, now you don't need to have it on a board. You could make your own board. I mean, just take a piece of wood, get a piece of sandpaper, and again, fine grit, not something super nasty grit, and then you've got the same thing. Or just use sandpaper and scratch it along, and it'll give you that same effect. You can actually see one of the words that I was typing on, because I was trying all kinds of different things. Anyway, so I have him glued in place. I'm going to use the sentiment, I melt for good coffee and great friends. And I'm going to trim that using, my 9-inch Fiskars so that I can get it even. I like the 9-inch Fiskars only because it's got that metal bar and it helps me to gauge where that cut's going to be so that it can be even. It assists me in getting it straight. It never works. I can't get a sentiment straight for the life of me. For this, I'm going to use some double-sided foam tape, and I'm going to place that down just below the strip there. Now, for the other side, you can see I didn't do anything to the other side. You can cover that up, you can paint that, whatever it is you want to do. I just left it blank for right now. I'm going to trim up the edges. And I'm using my 7-inch shears for that because I am coming up close to the wood. So now all I'm doing, I'm putting the scissors on an angle and I'm cutting along that. Now it's easier to come up this way. This is a tough side because you've got all of the wood embellishment in your hand. So it's kind of cumbersome to get in there. So the smaller the scissors, actually, the better. But I kept on trimming it and got it good. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. I'm cleaning my mat now because I have everything all over it. Yes, that's what I do. So that is our piece. I'm going to come in with some vintage photo to cover up the sides, hide that little bit of foam tape, just make that a little bit brown so it doesn't look so sore. I believe this ribbon was from the recent Hero Arts, the January kit, I believe. I thought this was perfect. Nice, thick, wide satin ribbon. So I'm going to use that for the top. And I'm just going to trim up the edges on an angle at different lengths just to accent that. So you can make this anything you want. You can have it an ornament. It's got a snowman on it. Why not? I'm going to add some of the enamel dots. You can cover the back. You can make it a tag. Just write to and from. Or you can keep the back the way that it is and just use a marker. Just know that it will bleed on the wood. So if you're looking for crispness. I do come in with my black glaze gel pen just to make sure the eyes and the eyes on his mug are very prominent. So there's a lot of things. This is actually going to be an ornament for my tree. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the reveal and the 5 cards that we made with the Scrapping for Less Flavor of the Month January 2019 card kit. So you can see there are some great stamps, great embellishments for this month's kit. As always, here are the close-ups, and again, regular speed, so that you can actually get a glimpse of them, as always. If you have any questions or comments, please leave those down below, and I'll make sure that I get back to you just as soon as I can, and I do try to answer every question and comment that is left. Links to the Scrapping for Less online store, their blog, also the downloads, both the ingredient sheet and also the sketches will be listed down below as well. And of course, the most important links, the links for the Flavor of the Month kit itself. So you'll be able to choose between the banana split level or the double dip level as well. So just remember what's in what, and items can change as needed and necessary. So I hope I got you inspired just a little bit. I'd love to have you here as part of my group, so please make sure you subscribe. And here are a couple other videos for the Scrapping for Less previous Flavor of the Month kits to also get you inspired as well. I hope everyone's having a great day, but always remember what's most important. Always be creative.